A fleet of private jets, a crystal-encrusted palace, and stakes in everything from SpaceX to Manchester City. This leader oversees a family fortune that dwarfs most nations' GDP, with tentacles reaching across every continent. His name is Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, and he's transformed oil wealth into a global empire. What's the secret behind his $30 billion personal fortune? The $30 billion man. Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan's personal net worth sits at around $30 billion. Not family wealth, not state funds, his own fortune. That number comes from inheritance, oil stakes, and decades of calculated investments across multiple sectors. The foundation started with his father, Sheikh Zayed bin Sultan Al Nahyan, the UAE's founding president. When Sheikh Zayed died in 2004, he left behind more than a legacy of nation building. He left direct stakes in Abu Dhabi's vast oil infrastructure. MBZ inherited a portion of that empire, including access to roughly 6% of the world's total oil reserves. For context, that's more oil than most countries will ever see. Oil revenue remains the engine. Abu Dhabi produces millions of barrels daily, and the Al Nahyan family holds controlling interests in the Emirates' production facilities. MBZ's personal slice of that operation generates steady income, entirely separate from government budgets or sovereign wealth funds. The distinction matters, even if the lines blur in practice. Beyond oil, MBZ has built a private investment portfolio spanning banking, energy, real estate, and international ventures. These aren't passive holdings. He's positioned in sectors that align with long-term economic shifts: renewable energy infrastructure, financial services in emerging markets, commercial real estate in global capitals. The strategy mirrors what sovereign wealth funds do, but these are his personal plays. Here's where things get complicated. In the UAE, royal finances and state finances don't operate in separate boxes. MBZ holds the presidency, his family controls Abu Dhabi, and the Emirates' resources flow through structures the family oversees. Distinguishing between what he owns personally and what he manages as head of state isn't always clear-cut. Financial analysts work with estimates because full transparency doesn't exist. That $30 billion doesn't include what the broader Al Nahyan family controls. It doesn't count the trillion-dollar sovereign wealth fund. It's just his share. Most people couldn't spend that much in 10 lifetimes. MBZ treats it as a starting point. The question isn't how much he has, it's what he's building with it. But his personal fortune is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. The Al Nahyan family's collective wealth makes $30 billion look like pocket change. The world's wealthiest dynasty, the Al Nahyan family fortune sits between $305 and $324 billion. That makes them the wealthiest royal family on the planet. The Waltons, who own Walmart, come close but don't match it. The Al Thanis of Qatar trail behind. No other dynasty controls this much concentrated wealth. The Abu Dhabi Investment Authority manages the heavy lifting. ADIA oversees more than $1 trillion in sovereign wealth spread across global markets in nearly every sector imaginable. Real estate in London and New York, technology stocks in Silicon Valley, infrastructure projects across Asia and Europe. The fund operates like a financial octopus, with its reach extending into almost every major economy. Between 2019 and 2023, the family poured $110 billion into African investments alone, ports in East Africa, renewable energy projects across the continent, mining operations, agriculture ventures, manufacturing facilities, and telecommunications infrastructure. It's not charity, it's strategic positioning in markets where growth potential outpaces developed economies. Africa's population will double by 2050. The Al Nahyans are betting on that timeline. The portfolio reads like a list of cultural touchstones. Manchester City Football Club, transformed from a mid-tier team into a Premier League powerhouse. Stakes in SpaceX, positioning the family in the privatized space race. Investment in Fenty, Rihanna's beauty brand, which carved out $1 billion niche in cosmetics. These aren't vanity purchases. Each acquisition serves a purpose: sports for soft power, space for future industries, consumer brands for diversification. Then there's the Abu Dhabi Development Holding Company, valued at $110 billion, managing assets across energy, utilities, and food production. The family also controls an investment firm worth $235 billion, making calculated moves in sectors ranging from healthcare to artificial intelligence. This isn't wealth stored in bank vaults. It's deployed capital, constantly moving, acquiring, expanding. The Al Nahyans operate less like a traditional royal family and more like a sovereign investment entity with a dynasty at the helm. Every purchase ties back to a broader strategy, reducing dependence on oil, building influence in emerging markets, securing stakes in technologies that will define the next century. MBZ sits at the center of it all, steering decisions that ripple across continents. The family's wealth isn't just about luxury, it's about control, influence, and ensuring the Al Nahyan name remains powerful long after the oil runs out. But billions in global investments tell only half the story. The other half sits in garages, hangars, and harbors, physical proof of what this kind of wealth actually looks like. Palaces, jets, and the world's longest yacht, Qasr Al Watan, the presidential palace in Abu Dhabi, cost $475 million to build. The main dome stretches 37 meters high. A chandelier made from 350,000 crystals hangs in the Grand Hall. Most government buildings aim for functionality. This one aims for unforgettable. The Al Nahyan family owns nearly $10 billion worth of London real estate. That's not a typo. 10 billion in one city. The holdings are so extensive that MBZ's predecessor earned the nickname Landlord of London. The portfolio includes prime properties across Mayfair, Knightsbridge, and the West End. Beyond London, the family holds real estate across Europe and the United States, office towers, luxury residences, and commercial complexes. The aviation fleet includes 8 presidential jets, Airbus A320-200s for shorter trips, Boeing 787-9s for longer hauls. MBZ's personal Boeing 747-400 is valued at $478 million. His Boeing 787 Dreamliner runs another $176 million. These aren't commercial planes with custom interiors. They're flying estates, built from the ground up for private use. The family's car collection exceeds 700 vehicles. 5 Bugatti Veyrons sit in the garage, each worth over $1 million new. There's a Lamborghini Reventon, one of only 20 ever made, a Mercedes-Benz CLK GTR, a Ferrari 599XX, a McLaren MC12, and somewhere in the collection sits the world's largest SUV, custom-built and utterly impractical. You could park a sedan inside it. Then there's the Azam. At 180 meters long, it's the world's longest super yacht. The price tag hits $600 million. It took 4 years to build and requires a crew of 50 to operate. For comparison, most luxury yachts measure between 50 and 80 meters. The Azam is more than twice that length. It's less a boat and more a floating palace with engines. These assets aren't hidden. Qasr Al Watan is open to the public. The yachts get photographed in Mediterranean harbors. The jets appear at international summits. The difference between the Al Nahyans and other ultra-wealthy families is scale. Where others own one palace, they own dozens. Where others have a jet, they have a fleet. Where others collect cars, they build museums to house them. But luxury assets are only part of the equation. The real story is how MBZ took inherited oil wealth and transformed it into a diversified global empire designed to outlast the resource that built it. From oil riches to global power, oil made the Al Nahyan family wealthy. MBZ is making sure oil doesn't define their future. The strategy is straightforward. Take profits from a finite resource and funnel them into sectors that won't disappear when the wells run dry. Between 2019 and 2023, the family committed $72 billion to renewable energy projects, solar farms across the Middle East and North Africa, wind energy investments in Europe, battery technology ventures in Asia. These aren't token gestures for public relations. They're calculated bets on the energy transition, positioned to capture market share as global demand shifts away from fossil fuels. Silicon Valley has become a hunting ground. The Al Nahyans hold stakes in multiple US tech startups, targeting companies working on artificial intelligence, biotechnology, and advanced manufacturing. The investments spread risk across dozens of ventures, knowing most will fail, but a few will generate returns that dwarf the initial outlay. It's venture capital at sovereign scale. The hospitality sector gets similar treatment. Multi-billion-dollar investments in luxury hotels across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. High-end properties in cities where tourism remains constant, regardless of economic cycles. The logic is simple. People with money will always travel, and they'll pay premium rates for premium experiences. European infrastructure presents another avenue. Toll roads, airports, ports, energy grids. The family targets assets that generate steady income and appreciate over decades. These aren't flashy investments. They're the boring backbone of modern economies, and they pay reliably. Here's the complexity. Separating MBZ's personal wealth from family holdings from state assets isn't clean. He's the president. His family controls Abu Dhabi, The Emirates' resources flow through entities the family manages. When the Abu Dhabi Investment Authority makes a move, is that state policy or family strategy? Often, it's both. The UAE's governance structure doesn't draw hard lines between royal and state interests. Western financial analysts struggle with this because the model doesn't fit conventional categories. But the outcome is clear. The Al Nahyan family is building a post-oil economic foundation that spans continents and industries. When oil revenue eventually declines, whether in 20 years or 50, the family will already control revenue streams from renewable energy, technology, real estate, infrastructure, and global finance. MBZ isn't managing wealth, he's engineering dynastic survival. The 30 billion in his personal accounts, the 300 billion controlled by the family, the trillion managed by sovereign funds, it's all moving in the same direction, away from dependence on a single commodity and toward a diversified empire that can sustain itself across generations. The world's wealthiest dynasty isn't resting on inherited oil money. They're using it as leverage to build something that outlasts the wells. Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan controls $30 billion personally and oversees a family empire worth over $300 billion. He owns palaces, jets, yachts, and stakes in everything from football clubs to space companies. But the real power isn't in what he owns, it's in what he's building for a world after oil. Most fortunes this size fade within 3 generations. The Al Nahyans are betting theirs will last centuries. Whether that vision succeeds or collapses under its own weight remains the ultimate question. Which part of MBZ's empire shocked you the most? Share your thoughts below.